let me see if we can actually do it. We want to talk about the 9 categories that were at the RVX when they selected, they categorized all consumers into 9 categories. Those categories are outdoor adventure, family friendly, van life, city escape, destination camping, sustainability, on the horizon, luxury living, and teen tailgate. And in each of those categories, they selected 4 or 5 RVs with one winner in each category. So if he goes trying to come back in, go to the broadcast. Let's see if we get him back in. Okay, John, are you there?
I'm here. You know what? I'm going to have to get away from the TV.
No, you're right. No, stay there. Stay there. There was the other image that was up there. I had you up twice. So just sit down, talk. You're all right. Can you talk?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Am I coming through the phone?
No, I killed the other one, so you're okay. So we're going to see if we can get going here with the outdoor adventure category, and the winner in the outdoor adventure category was the Sylvan Sport. And let me just bring that up for you.
Okay. Hey, Bob, before we go into the details, we should tell people what the reveal is.
Yeah, I don't have your face. I'm looking at your ceiling, so I'm not sure where you get your phone.
Okay, so that's...
Yeah. So what I did explain the reveal in the categories, John. When you were silent, we couldn't hear you, and I'm not sure that you could have heard me. So the Sylvan Sport, they brought out their first trailer. You may know them from the Silver Sport Go unit, fold-out camper that sat on an aluminum base. So this is their first attempt at a travel trailer that when you open it up, a lot of the components slide in and around. So if you look at the bottom picture, once you open it up, the back door opens as a almost like an awning. The kitchen slides out on the bottom right, and then the couches on the inside slide back to the back of the unit. And at night, that couch that you can see folds down to a bed, and another bed comes out of the ceiling. So you've got 2 queen-size beds on it, and it actually has a full bath with shower, and the outdoor kitchen is a proprietary system that they have.
They made it sure that you're not gonna sleepwalk.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you do, you're at risk.
So Mascot Sam says feedback echo.
On who?
Mike Perry says echo on John. I think that's gone. Was that old? Somebody tell me now. We saw a cricket. That was one of the cricket was one of the contenders, Michelle, in that category. The other 4 in that category were, and somebody let us know. Yeah, John, you're way off on your. Okay, you're all right now. Okay. In that category was the Airstream Base Camp, the Forest River No Boundaries, the Taxa Tiger Moth, the Taxa Cricket, and the Lance 855 Rule Maker, which was a prototype that they had at the show. So it looks like all the echoes are gone. It looks like John and I are at least in the picture, and we have that particular category. So now let's go to the family. Can you talk, John, for a second? I'm going to try to find the family friendly.
Yeah, I certainly can. We should also tell people that this is the part of the show, of the conference, that everybody in the building, everybody who attended the show was in the ballroom for this, and the host of the show, Rutledge Wood from NASCAR and several other shows, was a really nice guy. And you know what? It was kind of like a Hollywood production because they had sound, they had lights, they had curtain drops, everything imaginable. And
I went in there, John, the day after Thursday. You had gone home Wednesday night, and they were taking down the lighting and the stanchions, and you would have thought it was a Kenny Rogers concert. I mean, or a rock concert. The whole floor was covered with piping and stanchions and lighting, and they must have had 400, 500 crates. It was just amazing.
Right.
So when you say it was like a Hollywood production, it really was.
I mean, I looked up at that show, and I talked to, because I've been involved in several of those shows, and you have as well in your career. But I looked up, and you couldn't even see the hotel ballroom. They had more rigging that if there was ever a power failure in town, we would have been in trouble for that, because it was a first class production.
Yeah, I mean, I had trouble walking in the ballroom, and they were all laying on the ground, so it was all around there. So let me jump to the second category, then we'll stop after the second and read the comments. We're already up to 89 comments, but probably 69 of them were probably about our background noise. So the second category was family friendly, and in that category was the Forest River Vengeance Touring Edition, the Forest River Sabre Fifth Wheel, the Forest River R-Pod, the Winnebago Outlook, and the Coachman Catalina. Now, the winner of that was the Jayco Eagle HT 264 BHOK, and that's a new bunkhouse that sleeps six comfortably. You can see in the back it's got double queen bunkhouse in the back, and it's got a really large bathroom in the back. It had a fireplace, residential woodwork around it rather than some of that fake vinyl. A lot of good lighting in it, an outside kitchen, a hybrid grill, and a rear cargo door with a flip-up bunk for easy bike and kayak storage. This was a really nice-looking unit from a standpoint of a family unit. Walter says, I don't see anything special in this Jayco. Looks pretty typical. Well, it's six and it's good-sized beds, Walter. Now, and to your point, let's be very clear on this. The reveal was excellent. It got a lot of good reviews, but it also got a couple of bad reviews. Number one, it was too long. It was 2 hours long. Way too long, and they read, they showed specifications on all the backup units, all the other units that were in the category, and that was an issue.
The runner-ups.
Right,
the runner-ups. They didn't need to do that.
Yep, and we do not know who the judges were. They did not identify the judges, but we did hear that the judges for all 9 categories were the same judges. So we can question that a little bit, because somebody who might know luxury high-end motorhomes might not know off-the-grid boondocking type units. So there's a question mark there. Now, you'll hear a lot of Forest River products in here. In order to get into the reveal, you had to have had a product on the show floor. But you also would have had to submit your products in the categories that you wanted to submit them in. And there was a category called luxury living. And Tiffin Motorhomes did not submit anything in that category. So a lot of the manufacturers who spent all this money to go to Salt Lake City and display all these products didn't participate. So there are certainly in destination camping, you would think that a park model would have won, but the only park models there were not submitted in that particular categories. So,
hey, Bob, I think it's fair to say, and our viewers will know, especially the people that were at the show, is that all of the winning units, externally, they didn't look anything special, but really it was the inside features that really caused something to win. Because again, if you were not in the RV industry and you were dropped into that building after the reveal was there, you wouldn't know one from the other. But generally, it's because of what was included inside it that people were able to, be named the winner. And I think Dawn and Jose and Mark that were there with us would probably agree with the same thing.
Well, you would know in the next category. So we saw some creativity, and we will get to the comments. Well, actually, let's do this category, and then we'll stop. The category was van life, and we haven't talked about vans much in our industry because we always talk about Class B motorhomes. But as it was noted in Toby O'Rourke's Campground of the Future presentation, which was fantastic, there's a lot of new campers, and a lot of new campers want to go off-road and boondocking. So we saw a lot of things like the Taxa Cricket and the Moth, and this happens to be mod vans out of California called CV1. It is their first product, built on the Ford Transit chassis. So Walter, here's something new for you. It's got the lift top on the top. There's 2 beds in it. If you look in the back there's a portable toilet in the back right-hand corner. There's a bed on the lower level. The couches fold down on the lower level, and you have another bed up on top in the loft. So you get 2 queen-size beds in there. And all of this stuff, all the cabinets and all the material inside is removable and modular. So they're going to be able to configure these vans in many different ways that they have it. So, any comment on that one, John?
No, I was impressed with it, especially the fact that it's a first time out company, and a lot of that drew quite a crowd as soon as the show ended.
Yep, and the way that they did this also, if you were going to submit something in the reveal, you couldn't take it out of the ballroom, so you had to have another one in your display. And as it turned out, that Sylvan Sport Vast was the only one that they have made so far. So they didn't, although they got the publicity in the reveal, they didn't have one back in their display.
At their
Mod Bands did have one. They've been building these for a while out there. They just said they were selling factory direct, and I just got a notice from the general manager this morning who I met out the show, and they are going to be setting up dealers. So if you know dealers that sell this type of product, get a hold of me and we'll get them some information on it. So let me see here. Jose says, I agree, John, but there were some really innovative prototype RVs on exhibit, but didn't enter the competition. That's correct.
Right.
And Don confirms that Toby's presentation was great. We are going to try to bring, I talked to Toby, John and I did a video, I hope you saw that on the show. John, I'm going to look at the comments. Why don't you explain our wonderful Facebook day and what we lost?
Yeah, basically it was the day, our plan was to go live from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, local time. And we got a couple things done right in the beginning, and then as we were ready to go live with Toby, we couldn't, and we moved. We thought we were in that end of the hall that didn't work because earlier that day we were talking to the Winnebago people, and they were right near KOA, and the broadcast went fine. And then we found out later in the day that Facebook was down. We thought it was just first we thought it was our phones. Then we thought it was the area of the building. Then we heard it was the whole building. Then we heard it was the whole universe. So basically what we had to do was record some of our interviews. We didn't lose any interviews. Actually, we did lose that interview that we thought was going live with Don Clark from Grand Design.
That was probably the best, one of the best interviews we've ever done. We got Don Clark in front of his Momentum toy hauler. We must have interviewed him for about 20 minutes. We were laughing. We were rolling over laughing. And it was an incredible interview, and we lost the whole thing. And
we don't know where it went. It just stopped in the middle.
No, we were sitting in front of standing in front of the Momentum toy hauler, and we were commenting that of the three dealers that we have three Grand Design dealers up here: Campers Inn, Vermont Country Camper, which is Country Camper Vermont now, and Lee's Family Trailer Sales. And I commented, to him that John had just done a Facebook on-site online up at Lee's the week Saturday before we left, and Lee's has 13 Momentum toy haulers in stock. And I can remember a day when we didn't have 13 toy haulers in New England with all of our dealers combined. So toy haulers are hot, and it was just a great interview, as Don always is, but we just didn't get to that one.
Yeah. So we had to scramble to do our Facebook Live event that night, but we couldn't do it. So we ended up I got a quick tutorial on YouTube Live. And then we found out that the audio on the other side of the phone didn't come out. So we had some great guests. We had a guy named Chad Booth. One of the things with the media room that I found out is, you know what? We're all in the same business. And if you ask some other people, especially the techies that were there that were, handling all the gear for the on-air people, they were more than happy to help us out. So they taught us how to do YouTube Live. We've got those. If you're a lip reader, it's great. Otherwise, it's kind of basic. But we bumped into a guy named Chad Booth, who is the host of a show called At Your Leisure, AYL, which is all over the West Coast. And he kind of took over because I had the cold, and I think I gave the cold to Mike Wendland. I may have given it to Jose. But
didn't
Chad
give it to
Booth
me.
was there. Greg Gerber was there. Megan Barber, who's a reporter for a website called Curbed, CURBED.com, who does some amazing writing. And then somebody from the Wyoming Board of State Parks, Historic Sites, and Trails, Dave Glenn, the deputy administrator, was in with us also. So we had some great people. We're going to get them back individually because the show was so good. Unfortunately, I was the only one who heard it. In fact, there's that Jose right there on that. One of
That's
those
Jose
people.
and Greg
Right.
and Mark Polk in the
Yep.
media room. And
There they are.
You can see the media attendance, which was interesting because for all of the years, 50 plus, that we had the show in Louisville, the most media that we had ever had at one show was 160. And at this RVX, we had 220. And I felt like grandfather time in the room because all of them were young bloggers and journalists and young kids. But John and I were able to teach them a few things along the way. So not sure how they got from 160 to 220, but it was good. And what you will see is a lot of post-show publications, a lot of post-show reviews, which will be good because you'll get a different viewpoint from these different bloggers who are just coming into the industry or are new RVers.
And you know what, Bob? I think it's important to point out that you can't really judge the success of the show as it closed. You have to judge it over the next 3 months when the reporters that were there, especially the new people, get their material out and talk about the show all over the world, because we ran into our friend from Italy again, and there were people there from Germany and other countries over there. But the key thing is that Zagami got carded at the bar.
I did.
He's so excited over that. He hasn't been carded in 50 years, and he
Probably
got carded twice in 2 nights.
Probably pretty close to that, John. All right, let's go to the category that is City Escape. And while I bring them up, can you read that or comment on City Escape, John? It's the Leisure Travel Unity.
Yeah, I cannot see that, Bob. So
oh, okay.
Whatever I see is not the same as what you're seeing. So I'm not able to do that. But what I am able to do
is the inside of it.
There you go. And we should say our friends, the Wendlands, now have a is this the van that they got? Mike and Jennifer? In fact, that might even, I know the one that was on the floor was the actual van that they were buying, and were driving out of there the next day to Albuquerque to get registered. So that's called a B plus, and which obviously is a little bit between a B and a C.
It's got 2 work areas. You got that back area folds down to a bed, and the front area folds down to a bed.
Is there a Murphy bed in there?
Huh?
Is there a Murphy bed in that one?
No.
We saw some of the units, folks.
That back lounge folds down to a queen size bed, and the front sofa runs across for a single bed. And I'll show you. Let me show you the exterior, which is not. Well, it's a great one. I mean, it's Class B, built on the Mercedes-Benz chassis.
And we should point out, folks, Mercedes made a drastic change for the first time in at least 16 years, 14 years, and they have totally revamped the Sprinter. And when you drive it, you do not get a truck feel at all. I've driven one. You get a luxury car feel. It's got seats that move about 15 different ways. It's got electronics that are standard. And if you know somebody who said, oh, they've got a Sprinter and it's not a 2020, it's not anywhere like the Sprinter that is on the new, Mercedes, the Winnebago View, and that Unity van right there as you move to the fifth wheel category.
Okay, moving on. Yes, along the rear wall. Rick Kessler says yes along the rear wall. Okay, maybe. Okay, it must fold down over that couch. Thank you, Rick. Good evening, Ed. Laturco just joined us. Love those Murphy beds in the small units. Yeah, not just the small units now. Some of the small trailers are having the Murphy beds also, but certainly Class Bs and the small Class Cs are very popular there. So we're moving on to destination camping, and the winner I'll give you the runner-ups there, the KZ RV Durango, the Winnebago Horizon, Forest River Cedar Creek Cottage, Forest River Wildwood Grand Lodge. Now we took, now those are the runner-ups, and we took exception here to the Winnebago Horizon. This category is called destination camping. I don't think a $500,000 45-foot diesel pusher qualifies for destination camping, but that was the judge's choice, and that's what they had. But they came out, and even though they had two legitimate destination campers, the Forest River Cedar Creek Cottage and the Forest River Wildwood Grand Lodge, they chose the Forest River Riverstone Luxury. Now, granted, there are a lot of people who do buy fifth wheels and put them in seasonal sites in campgrounds, so they're not off the reservation with this one. But this is a luxury extended stay with separated garages, 1.5 baths, redesigned front cap with a large windshield on the front, and a tri-sofa living room, rear bathroom with dual vanity sink, half bath off the kitchen with a washer dryer, and still has room for a king bed. So it's a pretty luxurious fifth wheel on that one, with a lot of elbow room and a lot of room for people to move around on it. And there were, surprisingly, there weren't that many fifth wheels at the show. Overall, I think there was more motorhomes and trailers, but I'm not sure the reason for that. But when you walked around, there really weren't a whole lot of them to do that.
Most of the RV shows that we've been to this year, the consumer shows, have been primarily, probably 70 to 80% travel trailers, towables, as opposed to drivables, motorized. And interestingly, they still had a lot of big Class A's. But the interesting thing, and we talked with the Winnebago people about this when we were at their booth, they brought, I think, about 20 units, but they had all of their smaller units at the front of the display. They had the Navion, they had the Revel, they had the new National Park Travato, and the big ones were in the back, which really shows the change in what people want.
And Walter pointed out on this 3 air conditioners up on the top of that roof, and that and that is a pretty straight roof for a fifth wheel. So you get a lot of headroom on the inside. Good evening, Jason. Jason Cole just joined us, and bath and a half with the front living room. A lot of front living rooms out there now. So let's see. Okay, so Michelle and Laurie they're going to be doing a feature for Rolling on TV on a Forest River Class C next week with a Murphy bed. That's on the Ford chassis, isn't it, Michelle? I thought I saw a picture of that to do that. So the next category after this one was sustainability, which was kind of unique because a lot of people are conscious of their electrical usage. A lot of people want to be on the road. And the winner in that category was the Winnebago all-electric zero-emission vehicle. So this is not in production yet, but we are getting very close to an all-electric motorhome. They are building this on some of their specialty vehicles for companies and corporations that want it, so they're just getting out there. But they're right now, from a standpoint of what we have seen in the industry, they're the leaders in getting as close as possible to the all-electric type vehicle with the lithium batteries and solar power. Now, in that category also was the Taxa Mantis, the Forest River Rockwood Geo Pro, the Altitude by Eclipse, that was a fifth wheel, I think, and the Forest River Work and Play. So they probably had to stress themselves to get true sustainability models there.
But and Bob, it should be pointed out that Winnebago unit is the only one of its kind that's built right now. But that's going to the UCLA Medical Center or University of California Medical Center to do MRIs and that type thing. So it will be used as a medical vehicle. And before we wrap up today, we certainly need to talk about the accessibility enhanced units that we both toured at Winnebago as well.
It was Winnebago and Newmar with the Canyon Star. Both of them had accessibility units on display at the show, which is good. So let me drop down off this. And John, why don't you give your commercial while I load up the On the Horizons?
Thank you for that time while you're changing, Bob. We'd like to thank all of our viewers that join us weekly And the only way we can reach 5, 6, 7,000 people a week is because of you folks that are kind enough to hit the share button on your computer or your smartphone or your laptop or your tablet. And somewhere on your screen, you will see share. And not Sunny, but just share. And please try to share that with someone you know that's in RVing or someone who's considering RVing, because this show in particular would give them a pretty good variety of different types of RVs that are out there. So with that being said, Bob, let's go back to the
Jump
reveal.
into the on horizon category. This is forward looking technology. Now, in the runner ups on this were the Fusion 427 fifth wheel with onboarding weighing system, the Raptor 356 with pneumatic suspension, the Winnebago all electric zero emission again, and the Micro Mini fifth wheel. And we weren't planning to talk about the runner-ups, but let's talk about these a little bit because I think the technology was significant. Both the Fusion and the Raptor were Keystone products, and there was an onboard weighing system on the Fusion so that it actually measures the weight of the vehicle at the axle and the tailgate and at the hitch. And it works. They actually did some prototype testing on it. It's still in development, but they had it programmed that if they went over 8 people in the unit, it would trigger the alarm and say that it was overweight, and it did in fact do that. And they did that for a reason, so they can show people, because it was a very popular unit. People were jumping in and out. They wanted to see, well, how true is this? Now, it's never going to be as true as the truck scales, but certainly with the weight consciousness that we have and the size and the weight on these vehicles these days, that was a very interesting system that will be developed.
Yep. And Bob, I think it's so important. I'm sure Mark Poe could do a whole seminar on that. Weight, the proper amount of weight and weight distribution is so absolutely vital when you're camping these days. And people have a tendency to bring so much more than they need. And now if they can see that they're overweight before they leave their yard, they're certainly going to have a safer trip.
Yep. So the winner, now we talked about all the runner-ups. So the winner was the Airstream Classic Smart RV. And you see down in the bottom right, but everything in the unit is controlled off your cell phone or your tablet. If you're at a restaurant having dinner and you're getting close to the campground, you can activate your lights. You can have your exterior lights are on the unit, or the interior lights. You can control the temperature and the humidity. You can check your leveling. Everything is in this unit. So this was kind of putting everything under one roof, and certainly experimental at this point. But if you can do it in the Classic, you can do it in other units. So you're going to see a lot more of that. I think, and I'm sure Mark can probably jump in on this, and maybe Jose, because he had a film crew running around with rolling on TV. But there was a lot of new electronics, the in-command system, the one control from LCI, the in-command from, I think that was Jensen and ASA. And they actually had a fifth wheel on display with a lot of new technology and prototype items that was kind of off on the side by the front. But you're going to see a lot more technology over the next year or two, which is going to increase the demands of the dealers to have better trained technicians, certainly from a diagnostic capability standpoint. But you're going to be running your systems off the phone and the tablets, and that's a fact of life that we're going to see on that. So let me just see. Randy Murray's on. Randy from Pete's RV and Airstream Vermont. Hey, Randy, you'll like this one, Randy. You'll be the only guy up that'll know how to fix it. Rick Kessler says the load safe system, which is that's the name on the weighing system that was on the Fusion, could have pretty big implications with insurance companies. Well, that's true, because a lot of accidents are caused by people with overweight rigs, and I suppose an insurance company could deny the claim if, upon their analysis and investigation of the accident, found out that the consumer, the RVer, was in fact riding around with an overweight vehicle, and that would come under carelessness and not paying attention to the rules and paying attention to safety systems. Don says it's a game changer for safety. Walter says, very good rough magnitude of how overweight the rigs can be, if nothing else. Saw a video of that tech. You're right, Walter, and I think that's the big thing. If nothing else, it increases awareness of the owners significantly. And Don says the weighing demo was impressive. Al Jackson, hello guys, love my cottage, but I do regret not having a fifth wheel as a destination camper. Seems roomier. Good point, Al. There are a lot of, as I say, there are a lot of fifth wheels that are used for destination camping. And Ricky, I'm not sure what that website is that you're showing us, XBeyond 360. Maybe give us a quick explanation of that. And Michelle says it's 2441 Forest Class C on a Ford chassis for Mercedes-Benz. For the
Bob, do you have papers that are hitting the microphone?
Oh, I may have been rolling it across the computer.
Yeah.
Were you hearing some things going across?
Yeah, some heavy distortion.
Okay.
I didn't
All
want
right. I'm going to drop these down, and you can give a little commentary. I'm going to bring up luxury living.
Well, I think the key to the whole thing, as we look at the show in general, I know you have specific scripts to read about those units, but I think the industry is finally aware of the fact that the audience is changing, and the days of going to an event and the only exercise being sitting around a campfire, at least for the new generation, they don't have any interest in that. Not that there's anything right or wrong with it, but these guys and young families, that's another thing that we saw. The number of young families that the studies show that are hitting the road because of the technology that's available. People are able to homeschool their kids, but also do their business based upon living remotely and not necessarily have to be in a traditional office the way we have before. And I see that you're ready for the next unit there.
Yeah, what we have is luxury living, and the winner in that category, I'll tell you the runner-up later, we'll reverse the order this time, but the winner is the brand new Newmar Superstar 2020. It's a Super C, and it made its debut. I'm not even sure which chassis that's on. I think that's a Freightliner chassis.
It's the Freightliner. I did go in it.
Yeah, it did, yeah. So you can see the floor plan there, but that's a brand new product for Newmar, and should fit very nicely in the luxury. Certainly does in the luxury category because they are expensive, but they're quality and they're well built. So that's something that you'll see on the roads, and a lot of people like that. People like to have that front truck chassis. Firefighters like it. Policemen, first responders, guys that drive 18 wheels. Dawn Polk would fit right in there from her 18-wheeler days, and when she was rolling down the highway on an 18-wheeler, I bet you'd like that one, Don. Don says, "Oh, that's she's still talking about the way." Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Bob. An interesting fact of that: people still want the Class A ride, but many times people are intimidated by driving a Class A, and everybody who has bought one of these Super Cs says that it's so much easier to drive. And the other bonus that they found out is that service on the engine is so much easier than the people are having to go in the back to work on the traditional diesel pushers, which I'm sure Randy could tell us that, much more of a difficult task. And,
well, the other thing too is a lot of truck stops will work on the front end Super Cs because they're familiar with the Freightliners, but they won't work on the Class A motorhome. They're not going to take time out from the truckers. This is a standard product. They fix them every day. So a lot of people like that. And from a serviceability standpoint, it really is very good.
Yeah.
On that end of it. Yep. Oh, Dawn just says, bah, ha, ha. She doesn't want to brag about how good she was on the road with the 18-wheeler. Okay. Now I wonder if when she was driving the 18-wheeler, how difficult it was to find vegan restaurants when she was going down the highway.
Bob, vegan choices at truck stops, I think, are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, so Walter says this makes me think on the where'd he go? On the Toolman Taylor, more power. Rick says Newmar figured out how to keep the cab with the Freightliner air ride. Lots of engineering going on. Thank you, Rick. That's a good input. And the air ride is important because a lot of the Super Cs do not drive as well as a diesel pusher, but the people like the fact that they have that particular truck chassis out front on that unit. Yep. Okay.
Most of the Super Cs that I've seen, Bob, have been on that Freightliner chassis. I think there's a couple Thor products that we saw at open house that might have been on a big Dodge or something, but
they were on the Dodge. They were on the Dodge 550. That was the Magnitude and the Omni from Thor, built on the diesel front end Ford 550. In that category on luxury living, the runner-ups were the Stratus BRK by Venture, the Integra Cornerstone Coach, the Crossroads Redwood RV, and the Forest River Cardinal. So all good quality products on there. So I'm going to switch over. You want to do another commercial, John, while I'm switching over?
Yeah, we just want to tell you folks, feel free to share. And while you're talking about that, you're ready to go. So just share.
Yeah, just share the product. This was an amazing fifth wheel. This category was Team Tailgate. And you would certainly be the hit in the stadium if you showed up with this baby. What you can't see, we don't have a picture of it, but for those of you who remember Country Coach, when they brought out the side patio.
The one with the patio.
Yeah, this has the side patio. Right about in the middle of the coach, you can see the outline of the drop-down side patio that is all automatic with big TVs and little bit of a bar there, and along with the outdoor in the back garden. Actually, you can see it in the floor plan right in the middle there, that little black diagram that's right off the kitchen area. And you got a 13-foot garage in the back. And they call it the first ever side patio that sets up with the touch of a button, featuring an outside bar, built-in kegerator, multiple TVs. The interior hosts multiple 55-inch TVs, a sound system with 8 subwoofers, and 18 amplified speakers. The garage holds a portable hot tub that can be moved outdoors. Outside, the full-body paint is complemented by matching underground lighting system.
Basically, overkill on just about everything.
Yeah, but people like that. People,
right. Well, that's exactly what I mean.
People will buy it.
Yep.
Ed Laturco says, is that a separator wall between the driver and passenger seats?
I think he was referring to
the Super C. No, there is no separator wall between the driver's seats. They actually rotate, turn around, become part of the living room. And also they built a solid floor. You don't get a step down there until you're actually in the seats. So it's a solid floor, the level solid floor right up to the cab area.
9 TVs in total. Rick, I don't care where you are. 9 TVs, even in a 10,000 square foot house, is too many. 9 TVs in total.
Well, as Dawn said, she says, I can see tailgating at an event, but it would be annoying at a campground. You think so? With everybody partying on the deck, Dawn, and somebody watching the football game outside, the basketball game in the kitchen, and the baseball game out on the back deck, and the kids playing music off the 8 subwoofers. Yeah. You think that would bother the people next door?
But you know what, Bob? They talk about tailgating. The point is, you're not leaving the camper to go into the game. Because if you got 9 TVs and some are 55 inches, why go to the game, especially if it's cold out and freeze, when you can watch the game, enjoy all of the accoutrements of the parking lot of a college football game or a pro football game, for that fact. And I bet you down south they're going to offer it in team colors.
Well, they can probably customize it. But that was one of the points that Rutledge Wood made when he was doing the presentation on this, that a lot of people who tailgate don't ever leave the parking lot. They're just there for the party.
Right.
That's,
although in Foxborough, they won't let you into the RV parking lot unless you have tickets.
Well, and 3 hours too.
Right. Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which in Buffalo, because they're not winning, they let you into the parking lot Thursday night, And then you go to work on Friday, you go to work on Saturday, but you spend your nights in the parking lot in Buffalo. Now, the only problem is it snows there in October, so it's not really that not much of a treasure, but they give you so much more opportunity to utilize it.
Yep, there is Rutledge Wood, who John and I ran into going back to. He was staying at the same hotel as John and I, and actually quite a guy. He was very personable and no ego, and a real down to earth guy, family man, 3 daughters, and an RVer. So we enjoyed the time that we had with him.
It also agreed with us that the reveal segment was a little too long, like about a half hour.
Yep. I just want to make sure we didn't leave out a category. Nope, we didn't. Okay, let me show you some of the pictures of the event here that were important. You see, and I'm sure Don is going to have a comment on this.
Uh-oh, it's got to be food.
No.
Oh, about the women's event?
Yeah. So at the event, was a kickoff event for the RV Women's Alliance. So all of you women who are out there watching, if you're in the RV business, you want to be sure to join that. And I just dropped off. I don't know why.
No, you're fine here.
Okay. All right. I'm off the screen, but I'm up there. Okay. So they had a big kickoff meeting. In fact, they had so many people that showed up unexpectedly. It was so loud and rowdy because there's a bunch of women in the room. But a few guys, I've joined that association, so we're going to promote them. We'll have Susan Carpenter on one night, and some of the people, the women who are organizing that, but they didn't get a chance to hear their guest speaker. So let me see if Miss Polk had anything to say about that. She says, Rutledge made the show so much fun. He did.
Yeah, that's the reveal.
Going back to the...
well, actually, he did the tech challenge as well, which we won't get into tonight. Bob, we should tell people that, Jose mentioned he got a cold from the show. Several other people did. And also Kevin Broom, who was supposed to be our guest tonight, had to cancel at the last minute because of the cold that he got there.
Right.
But he'll be with us next week to talk about some other aspects of
it. Yeah, and it's a good point. He said 6 or 7 of the RVIA people came down sick. And the one common thing was most everybody that we know that got sick was in the media room. So somebody was spreading something around up there, and unfortunately, I didn't get it. We could always blame DePietro.
Wasn't me
on that.
And Mark got sick.
Yep.
Wendland's got sick. The whole 9 yards. But it
wasn't
even the media food.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about camping, because that's what this was all about. When you think about this particular event, the reason they hold it in March is it's the kickoff of the camping season. And that is why it's going to be held in March every year. Next year it's going to be in San Antonio. So that was the major theme of having RX, besides the reveal and the new technology. You see a picture of John there with William Hill, our good friend who used to be with Lance, and he's now with a dealership down in Florida, and Toby O'Rourke, the new CEO. Because she was the old president, but now she's the new president and CEO of KOA.
Let me talk about her. She spoke for an hour on Wednesday morning, and you could hear a pin drop in that room. And she had total command. Dawn, I'm sure you'd agree. She had total command of that room, and she went from the left side of the stage to the right side of the stage. And every one of the slides that she put up had so much factual information in it, new factual information about the new camper that could have been a 7-hour seminar without boring you. But basically, I think a couple of the points that she made is that people are camping while on business, or they're taking their RV to the business trip and adding a day at the front end and a day at the back end. And they come up with a new word. It's called bleisure, a combination of business and leisure. Bleisure, Bleisure. And, that was one of the things. The other thing she said is that everything that KOA does now, their number one concern is that it can be viewed on a mobile device because more people are making reservations, at least at KOA, on phones than they are on laptops and, notebooks. So those are a couple things, and I know that you want to go into a couple of the other things.
Well, there was a couple that I printed. You couldn't keep up with her notes, and I did take a lot, and I took a lot of pictures. But what we're going to try to do, and we spoke to Toby at the show, is I want to bring Toby to New England, and I want to have a meeting with the campground owners and the dealers to listen to her presentation, because it's by far the best presentation about who our customers are, who the audience is, why they camp. For example, there are 79 million camping households in the United States. 51% of all campers camp with kids. That's up 17% since 2012. 4 in 10 RVers are either renting or borrowing an RV. That means they're future RV prospects to buy an RV. And this was a great one. 86% of Americans say they have not seen enough of the United States of America. 86%. So if you ever wanted an excuse to see this country, there is no better way to see it than in an RV and to go camping. And I also printed out that Be Leisure. So that's for people, I think, in addition to what John said, but it's also for people who work from the road. So they're combining their leisure travel with their actual careers. And there were a lot of those. And then the other thing that KOA had in the display was what they called the Campground of the Future. And they had virtual reality screens and goggles set up so that you could see the campground of the future in an urban setting underneath the water. There was 4 or 5 settings that they had, but that booth was busy all 3 days, really busy.
Well, they were engaging, and Toby is one of the more one of the smarter people in the industry, in that she actually connects campers with camping, and by campers I mean the physical product with people that utilize them, which are also called campers. But she ties the two together, and I think so much of this industry doesn't.
That's a valid point, and that was one of the things. And then the last 2 that I want to put up was this and this. So we all know the intent of the show and RVX, but also this new event every year is to sell more RVs. So how are they going to sell more RVs? Well, with the kickoff to the camping season, each of these 9 categories that we went through tonight have a media partner. It might be O for Oprah's magazine, it might be Esquire, Sports Illustrated, I think ESPN was on one of them, Outdoor Magazine. So each of those categories now have, and we'll talk about that probably next week with Kevin, but have a major media sponsor that's going to have advertisements all year long in their magazines, reaching people who probably never thought about going to RVs, going camping. So this is going to drive more people into dealerships. So it's going to get more people out there camping, going to drive more people into dealerships, and they'll continue to build on it. That's the bottom right. The bottom left, I have absolutely no clue what it is, other than it was a bunch of signs outside one of the entrances, and this is an actual exhibit. This is an art exhibit. But
at the entrance to the entrance to the convention center.
Yes, and we have no idea what they're supposed to stand for, and Uber drivers didn't have any idea either.
But the ladies that we went to the convention center with on Wednesday morning loved it.
Right.
They thought it was pretty cool. I still can't figure out what it did.
Right.
Need to let the dog out.
Yeah, I think I let this one go by, but the RV Technical Institute was there, and I got a chance to meet the new director, and they're about ready to lease a building, so it doesn't look like they're going to be building a building. He's got a lot of an aggressive agenda, and I hope to fly back out there and meet with him very soon, probably within the next couple of weeks, to talk about what we can do locally here to do that.
Well, to say the least, it was an interesting show, and I think everybody who's viewing us tonight who attended would agree that the show was different than other shows. And they're realizing that the market has changed, and if you don't change to reach that new market, your industry is not going to be there.
Yeah, and we'd be remiss if we didn't congratulate Salt Lake City on putting on a great show. It's a real clean city. It's an easy city to get around. We were staying about 5 blocks away in a hotel, but we were able to leave the hotel in the morning and hop on the light rail vehicle. It was free of charge. We went down 3 blocks and walked 1 block over to the convention center. John took it over to the airport on his way out to the Red Eye Wednesday night. And Kurt Hemelier, Rick, thank you, is very impressive. He's the new director at RVTI. And so I think we were coming right up on 7:59, and I apologize again for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but quite honestly, I have no clue what caused them. So, Michelle, if you can take a look at this afterwards and see if you can clip that part out. If not, when we post it, let's make sure we tell them at what minute mark the good stuff starts at.
Yep. Dawn brings up a good program. Let's talk about that next week.
What's that?
People are offering their driveways to other people. My wife has said we should do that at our house on Cape Cod, but you know what? Unless you're there, you don't know if that person is about to, unload their black tank in your yard, and then drive off. So I'm not crazy about that. But there's others if you're there.
I think I forget the name of the group that's doing it, but it's a known RVer who's making the driveway for a quick stop. Just sleep. Unlike not so much like a harvest host because you got things to do on the property. I don't think these folks who will let you park in the driveway are going to invite you in for breakfast in the morning, but some of them might. RV is a very friendly people.
Yeah.
Oh, Walter! Walter is the walking encyclopedia. Besides the fact that he, is a cook. And Walter, by the way, you've not posted any recipes lately, so I've had to dig out some on my own. But Walter posted a website. And he says the signs create unity from contradiction. Well, okay, I'll buy that. So
okay.
We got that.
Speaking of, let's give our viewers if any of them have used the Instant Pot in their RV. Let's talk about that next week because that's that new thing that everybody's talking about, that Instant Pot.
Well, why don't we save that for a week when we do that, and we'll do the Blackstone Grill and some of the we'll do a whole show on some of the things that they do that. But Kevin's going to be pretty well tied up in terms of talking about the magazines that are supporting it, and there's so many other aspects of RVX. So for those of you who are still on, and we certainly appreciate you sticking with us tonight, if there were aspects of RVX, if you were there or you read or you saw something on it that you want us to cover next week, we will do that. So, Matt's good Sam, Rhonda says she loves hers. Michelle, Instapot, not Instant Pot. Okay.
No, I think it is Instant Pot. I think it's not.
It's Instapot. And the Blackstone Grill is another one that they like. So anybody that has household appliances that they use, Boondock is welcome. Walter says on that people park in the driveway.
Yeah.
So we can do that. Change is good. So that will be it for tonight, and we'll wrap it up. But feel free to send us some notes on what you might want Kevin to talk about next week, and hopefully he's feeling better and the rest of the world is feeling better. But Dr. Moniz had the right prescription. He says, Bob didn't get sick. He keeps using that JD antibiotic medicine that I think I'll start using. Well, I've highly recommended. It's been over 50 years now, and I don't get sick, and I don't get colds.
And you don't need a prescription.
You don't need a prescription for it. It's even better. It's not one of those high-priced medicines that the doctors give you. All right, we will see. We will see all of you next week. Thank you very much. We got 174 comments already. Keep them coming. We'll go back and look at them. Like I say, the first 40 probably were not very nice, but we worked through it, as we always do somehow. We'll do that. So we will see you all next week.
Have a great day, everybody.